Speaker. Good evening, friends and colleagues of the House. Every single state in the US is given the opportunity to have themselves represented in the US Capitol with one statue. One statue that embodies who they are and the values on which we stand. In 2014, Iowa chose to make that statue in the US Capitol Dr. Norman Borlaug. Dr. Norman Borlaug, for those who might not be familiar, is a Nobel Peace Prize winner, originally from Iowa, who was credited with saving 60 million lives because he fought hunger and fed them. He is known for being the father of the Green Revolution and one of the biggest hunger fighters in the world. He formed the World Food Prize Foundation, that building that sits on the river right down here, because he wanted to continue that fight. He wanted to make sure that we recognized people who were hunger fighters and that we valued the need for that in our society. He wanted to dedicate not just his own life, but inspiring others to join on to the United Nations mission to eradicate hunger by the year 2030. Every single year, in this chamber, right where we're sitting now, every October, we honor his legacy by handing out the World Food Prize to somebody else who is fighting hunger in the world. Just 2 weeks ago, I joined so many of you in the World Food Prize building, just a few blocks from here, to commemorate Dr. Borlaug. We heard Governor Reynolds stand there as she spoke about his work to eradicate hunger. We heard her call Iowa the place that feeds the world. So I ask you, if we truly feed the world, then why, by passing this bill, do we want to starve children in our own backyard? Dr. Borlaug taught me and so many other young Iowans that food is medicine, and studies agree. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities found that children who are facing food insecurity are significantly more likely to face chronic health issues, including asthma, anemia, and developmental delays. Feeding America quantified this, actually, into an economic cost. They found that between 2016 and 2018, food insecurity resulted in healthcare costs of $160 billion in the US. So many of our colleagues have stood before us today, Representative Kurth, Representative Turek, Representative Forbes, the list goes on, talking about how this bill is costing us money because we are turning down federal funds that are being used to feed our children. Well, let's add on that economic impact of those healthcare costs, and this bill is just becoming more and more expensive. But let's not stop there. The USDA in 2019 quantified that for each person that is on SNAP, it results in $1,430 of a direct economic impact into each of their immediate communities. This means the retailers, the grocery stores, anyone in our small communities that benefits. LSA estimated that 2,800 people would fall off of SNAP due to discrepancies alone. That doesn't take into account the acid test or any other aspects of this bill. If we're looking only at that 2,800 people because of discrepancies, that's losing $4 million in direct economic impact. If we add in the indirect impact, that's another 3 to 4 times as much. So once again, this bill is becoming more and more expensive. So why are we paying money to keep our kids hungry? One of the biggest issues with this bill is the acid test. When we look at the purpose of public assistance programs, one of the biggest goals is to help our community members face difficult situations, face challenges, and to eventually escape that cycle of poverty that Representative Bate described so well for us. According to numerous studies from the Harvard Policy Review, all the way down to the Urban Institute and the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, One of the biggest factors in escaping that cycle of poverty is home ownership. The Urban Institute actually specified that somebody who owns a home with other factors all remaining the same has a net median worth that is 80 times that of somebody who only rents. It is a huge factor in escaping intergenerational poverty. But how do you own a home? You put down a down payment. And if you look at how much your down payment needs to be on your mortgage, according to all of the banks, if you don't want to pay an additional fee because you don't have enough of a down payment, so further penalized for not having enough money saved, you typically have to put down about 20% of a mortgage for a down payment. The average home cost in Iowa is $194,000. That means a 20% down payment would be more than $38,000. That is far higher than the asset test limit in this bill of $15,000. So what are we telling people who are on public assistance? We're telling them we're going to trap them in that cycle of poverty, that they will have no chance to save for a home that could be the biggest hope for their children to be able to succeed in the future. Why are we doing this? Why are we causing harm to the very Iowans that we swore on Inauguration Day to stand up, fight for, and protect? If we truly meant anything that we said during that oath of office, you have to vote this bill down. Thank you.
Chair recognizes